Hi everyone, my name is Rose and I'm going to cover visual media in business communication today. And this is a chapter 9. Some of the learning objectives are as follows. Explain the power of business images. Explain how to choose which points in your messages to illustrate. Describe the most common options of presenting data in visual format. Describe the most common options of presenting information, concepts, and ideas. Explain how to integrate visual with text, and list 3 criteria to review in order to verify the quality of your visuals. And then name the most important considerations in the productions, reproductions, and pre-productions and post-productions of producing business videos. Understanding communications in visual. This chapter helps you appreciate the power of images and the evolutions of visual in business communications. It then explains how to identify points in your messages to illustrate, how to select the best visuals for each of those points, and how to create effective visuals in any medium, from memos to report to web pages to electronic presentations, as well as how to produce basic business videos. Visual attracts hold people's attention by helping them understand and remember your basic messages. In addition to their direct information value, a significant part of the power and rest of visual elements derives from their connotative meaning. Many colors, shapes, and other design elements have visual symbolisms. Their symbolic connotative meaning can evolve over the time and mean different things in different cultures. Being aware of these symbolic meanings and using them to your advantage are important aspects of effective communication. The visual evolution in business communication. The process of creating and working with visual elements used to be the domain of experts with complex and expensive tools. However, digital technology has changed the situations dramatically. Technology has multiplied ways in which communicators can create visuals, and people are living in a more visual media saturated environment, so audiences may expect messages to be more visuals. As a result of these changes, visual literacy, the ability to create and interpret visual images, has become a key business skill. Therefore, knowing how to help your audience see what you see will help you communicate more effectively. Visual design principles consist of 6 principles, fundamental. Consistency, contrast, balance, emphasis, conventions, and simplicity. Audience view a series of visual as a whole and assume the design elements will be consistent from page to page. In contrast, readers expect visual distinction to match verbal ones. In order to emphasize differences, depict items in contrast colors. To emphasize similarities, use more subtle colors. Balance. Images that appear to be out of balance can be unsettling. Balance can be formal, in which the element and the images are arranged systematically around a central point of axis. A balance can also be informal, in which stronger and weaker elements are arranged in such a way that achieves an overall balance. Emphasis. Make sure that the visual dominant element really does represent the most important information and visually downplay less important items. Convention. Visual communication is guided by generally accepted rules or conventions, just as written communications is guided by spelling, grammar, punctuations, and usage conventions. Simplicity. Keep business communication visuals simple. Remember that You are conveying information, not creating artwork. The ethics of visual communication. The potential power of visual places an ethical burden on every business communicator. Consider all interpretation. You can work to avoid ethical lapses in your visual by following these guidelines. Consider all possible interpretations and misinterpretations. Provide context. Even when they are completely accurate, visuals show only a partial view of reality. Don't hide or minimize negative information that runs counter to your argument. Obscure information prevents your audiences from making a fully informed decision regarding your content. Don't exaggerate information that supports your argument. You have responsibility not to oversell information that supports your argument. So resist the temptation to alter, enhance photographs and other images in a way that support your argument. The next section will cover identifying points to illustrate. Identifying points to illustrate. To help you identify which part of your message can be from visual support, consider the flow of your message from audience's point of view. Deciding where to use visuals. Consider the following questions when you're choosing which elements of your message to illustrate. Are parts of this message too complex? Are all connections between ideas clear? Do any paragraphs obscure data in facts? Does the main idea get readers' attention? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, you probably need one or more visuals. Using the 5 C's for illustrations. And effective visuals, when you are deciding which point to present visually, think of the 5 C's. Clear, concise, complete, connected, and compelling. Clear, the human mind is adept to processing visual information. If you are having difficulty conveying an idea in words, take a minute to brainstorm your visual possibilities. Concise, you have probably heard the phrase, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." If a particular section of your message seems to require extensive descriptions or explanations, perhaps you can find a way to convey the information visually. Complete, visual often provide details to support recommendations or key ideas. Connected, a key purpose of many business messages is showing connections of some sort, similarities or differences, cause and effect relationships, and so on. Compelling, your reader live in a highly visual world. Will illustrate, make your message more persuasive, more interesting, and more likely to get read. You should avoid interesting visual simply to decorate your purposes. However, if a particular point can be stressed or expressed equally well via text or visuals, consider adding a visual in order to make your report or presentation more compelling. The next sections will cover selecting visuals for presenting data. Selecting visual for presenting data. The visual used most commonly to present data include tables, line charts and surface charts, bar charts, pictograms and Gantt charts, scatter and bubble diagrams, and pie charts. The parts of a table. When you have to present detailed specification information, choose a table, a systematic arrangement of data in columns and rows. Tables are ideal when the audience needs the information that would be either difficult or tedious to handle in the main text. Most tables contain standard parts illustrated on this graph. Preparing data tables. Many tables are strictly numerical, but this one, when preparing such tables, observe the following guidelines. Use common, understandable units and clearly identify them, such as dollars, percentage, or price per ton. Express all items in a column in the same unit and round off for simplicity if doing so won't eliminate essential details. Label column headings clearly and use a subheading if necessary. Line and surface charts. Line charts are commonly used to show trends over time or the relationship of two or more variables. A surface chart is also called an area chart. It's a form of line chart with a cumulative effect. All of the lines add up to the top line, which represent the total. Average current temperature, North Island facility day shift. If you need to compare two or more sets of data, in this case, you can plot them on the same chart, for instance, visual comparison. In a line chart showing trends, vertical y-axis shows the amount, and the horizontal x-axis shows the time or other quantity against which the amount is being measured. A surface chart. Home game ticket is an example of a surface chart, also called an area chart. It's a form of line chart with a cumulative effect. All the lines add up to the top also. And this form of chart helps you illustrate change in the composition of something over time. A bar chart. This one is an example of a bar chart. It portrays number by the height or length of rectangular bars and making series of numbers easy to read, understand, and charts that are useful when you want to compare the size of several items at one time, show changes on the other time, and then indicate the composition of several items of a whole, and then show the relative size of components, and keep all the bars in a line chart the same width. In addition, the bars evenly and place them in a logically order, such as chronological, alphabetical. And this one is actually a bar chart, can be of various forms. It shows the segmentation, and this one shows the illustrate the deviations of Kamenico stock price. This one is another bar chart that represent combinations of Kamenico employee training costs. This one shows the variation on bar charts. It portrays data as symbols instead of words, or numbers is known as pictogram. And you can use a type of time in line charts known as Gantt. Scatter bubble, XY diagram. A bubble diagram expands to 3 variables with size of the bubble and representing the 3rd variable. This bubble diagram shows 3 variables: distance along the x and y axis plus the diameter of each bubbles. In this case, the rate of the revenue is plotted on the x axis and profit margin is plotted on y axis, and the size of the bubbles represent annual revenues. Using a pie chart is commonly used tool for showing how the parts of a whole are distributed. Although pie charts are popular and can quickly highlight the dominant parts of a whole, they are often not as effective as bar charts or tables. These pie charts does make it easy to see that assemblers are the largest employee categories. It's 41% on a red showing, but another comparison of slices such as sales and engineers, shipping, are actually make the required numerical rather than visual comparison. It's not easy to make, and it's also can give a quick visual comparison of every data point. Conventional charts. This charts right here showing data visualization. It can overcome all these drawbacks. It shows the graph in limited several ways. In most types, it can show a limited number of data points before becoming too cluttered to interpret. And they can often can't show complex relationships among data points, and they can represent only numerical data. Tag cloud is a sample of that shows the relative frequency of terms or tag in a sample or text taken from this chapter. This chart shows the example of a tag cloud, which shows the relative frequency in terms or tags in a sample. The next sections will cover selecting visuals for creating information, concepts, and ideas. Selecting visual for creating information, concepts, and ideas. You'll need to represent other information from a spatial relationship to abstract ideas. The most common type of visuals for this application include flowcharts and organization charts, maps, drawings, diagrams, and photographs, infographics, and animation and videos. Flowchart, the report writing process. This illustrates a sequence of events from start to finish. It is indispensable where illustrate process, procedures, and sequential relationship. Organization charts, the chain of command. It illustrates the positions, units, or functions in an organization and the ways in which they interrelate. Organization charts can be used to portray almost any hierarchy, such as the topics, subtopics, and supporting points needed to organize a report. Using maps. Maps are useful for showing locations, distance, points of interest, and geographic distribution of data. Simple maps are available via clip art libraries. When combining with database, an aerial or satellite photography, and geographic information such as GIS, maps become extremely powerful visual reporting tools. Diagrams, drawings, and photographs. The opportunity to use drawings, diagrams, and photographs are virtually endless. To use photographs successfully, consider these guidelines. Consider whether a diagram would be more effective than a photograph. Photos are unmatched in their ability to show exact appearance. A simplified diagram can be emphasized on specific elements that are irrelevant or relevant to the job at hand. Learn how to use basic image processing functions. Learn basics such as resizing and cropping of images. Use infographics. Infographics are a special class of diagrams that can convey data as well as concepts or ideas. Broadly speaking, there are two types of infographics. Those that are stylized and collections of charts or graphs, and those that have a structured narrative. The next sections will cover producing and integrating visuals. Producing and integrating visuals. Now that you understand the communication process of visuals and have chosen the best visual illustrated key points in your report, websites, or representation, it's time to get creative. These sections offers advice to creating visual, integrating them with your text, verifying the quality of your visual elements. In creating visuals, no matter which tools you may be using, match the style of the quality of your visuals with the subject matter and the situation at hand. The style of your visuals, communication sample, messages about your relationship with the audience. A simple sketch might be fine for a working meeting, but inappropriate for a formal representations or report. Integrating visual with text. In most business documents, visual must be tightly integrated with the text. Successful integrations involve 4 decisions: balancing visual and text, referring to visual in the text, placing the visual in the document, and writing titles on the descriptions. Verifying the quality of your visuals. Visuals has a particularly strong impact on your reader and on the perceptions of you and your work. So you must verify their quality and take a few extra minutes to make sure that your visuals are absolutely accurate, properly documented, and honest. Visual media on mobile devices, whether it's a training video or an interactive big data tool or a GIS system used for on-site analysis, more and more employees need to come visual media on a smartphone and tablets. The constraints of small screen are even more acute with visual than they are with text. So preparing visual content for mobile users takes careful planning and display tools designated for mobile devices. The next sections will cover producing business videos. Producing business videos. From tutorials and product demonstrations to seminar and speeches, online video is now an essential business communication medium. For videos that require highest production quality, companies usually hire specialists with the necessary skills and equipment. The 3-step process adapts easily to video: pre-productions, productions, and post-productions. And step 1 is a pre-productions. Make sure to verify your purpose and scope, consider the composition of your scenes, decide where you'll place the camera, plan your lighting for your video, make arrangements for sound recording, create a shot list or full script as needed, identify and collect B-roll material. The planning is crucial because you have only one opportunity to get the footage you need. For any video you think through, make sure you have all those following elements. And production, after the pre-production phase, you are ready to shoot your video. The following tips to help you collect great footage are: frame each shot carefully, Keep the camera still. Take B-roll footage and don't use special effects on your camera. And post-production. During post-production, interesting, highly quality videos come to life as you use editing software to weave your main footage and B-roll footage on a seamless show and enhance it with music, titles, and other elements. The next 3 slides provides a general overview of the post-productions, where you have to transfer video footage to your computer and load it into the editing software and evaluate your material, identifying the shots you want to keep, those and you want to delete. You use cut and paste to move sections of video around as needed and put story in the desired order. And this concludes Chapter 9, Visual Media. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great night.